Okay. Yeah, so we can start now. We are already connected on Facebook and the recording also started. Okay, can I start?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, so we'll be referring to the ninth canto, second chapter and ninth verse. Although I would like to share a couple of verses today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, because these are all connected to the Guru Tattva, to the subject. Let me share the screen. Okay, verse number 9. Okay, you are all able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Tam Shashapa Kulacharya Kritagasam Akamada Nashatra Bandhu Sudrastvam Karmana Bhavita Muna. Synonyms: Tam him Prishadra, Shashap cursed, Kul Acharya the family priest, Vasishta Krit Agasam because of committing the great sin of killing a cow, Akamata although he did not want to do it, not Shatra Bandhu the family member of a Kshatriya, Sudratvam you have behaved like a Sudra, Karmana therefore by a fruited reaction, Bhavita you shall become a Sudra, Amuna because of killing the cow. Translation: although Prishrada had committed the sin unknowingly, his family priest Vasishta cursed him, saying, in your next life you shall not be able to become a Kshatriya. Instead, you shall take birth as a Sudra because of killing the cow. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It appears that Vasishta was not free from Tamagun, the mode of ignorance. As the family priest or the spiritual master of Prishrada, Vasishta should have taken Prishrada's offense very lightly, but instead Vasishta cursed him to become a Sudra. It is the duty of a family priest not to curse a disciple, but to give him relief through the performance of some sort of atonement. Vasishta, however, did just the opposite. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that he was Durmati. In other words, his intelligence was not very good. Okay, before explaining this, the relevance of this particular purport, I wanted to briefly share what we discussed in the last class. Just give a brief synopsis of whatever we have covered. Yeah, so in the last class, we had discussed about what is the role of Guru, what is the purpose of Guru, what is the meaning of Guru. And the Guru is also the ideal manifestation of the Supreme Lord. That's why we are supposed to worship and treat the Guru as not different from the Supreme Lord. And then we also understood different meanings of Guru. So one meaning is that a Guru is someone who is actually bestowing transcendental knowledge. At the same time, Guru also means heavy with knowledge. Then we also discussed about the Swarup and Tattva selection of a Guru. So what is the primary characteristic of a Guru or the qualification, and the main, sorry, not the qualification, but the main characteristics for choosing a Guru. And then there is a secondary characteristic, which is the Tattva selection. So the Swarup Lakshan, we discussed that the obedience to Guru is the main function between the Guru and disciple. And Tattva selection means it is connected with the attachment to the Guru. So a disciple may have attachment to the Guru initially, and he may not have initially. So later on it can develop. But the primary characteristic remains constant, which is obedience to the Guru, whether you have attachment or not. Once you are taking Diksha from a Guru, or once you accept a Guru, then it is mandatory that we should obey the instructions of Guru. And then we also discussed about different types of guru, like we have the Vartama Pradasha Guru, we have the Siksha Guru, and then we have the Diksha Guru. And what are the differences between Siksha and Diksha Guru? The principles and details. And then I also shared some Shastric references which refer to Guru, the importance of Guru, why one has to surrender to Guru or one should accept a Guru. Without Guru, we cannot attain the Lord. So there are many references that I quoted from the Upanishad. And yeah, today we'll be discussing, and I think, yeah, we also discussed about the role of Guru. We also discussed the exalted position of the Vrajvasis. And then I think we also discussed about the Guru as a representative of Sambandh, Abhiday, and Prayojan. Sambandh Gyan, Abhiday Gyan, Prayojan Gyan, as well as the deities corresponding to them, Madan Mohan, Govind Dev, and Gopinath. And then the Guru is also manifested in the form of Chaitya Guru, which is basically the Paramatma from within. And how by surrendering to the instructions of Guru, following the instructions of Guru, a disciple can communicate with the Paramatma also. It's not that the disciple will be able to do it at the stage of Bhava and Prema. It can also happen earlier, at lower stages also. But the main criteria for that is a disciple has to be surrendered to the Guru, or the disciple should sincerely follow the instructions of Guru. Then it is possible that the Guru can actually connect the disciple to the Paramatma, because ultimately we understand that Guru is a principle, it is not the body. And I also quoted Srila Prabhupada's letter, where Prabhupada says that Guru is not the body, Guru is a principle. So in terms of principle, Guru is actually a universal, Guru is basically appearing in a universal form. And there is the localized form also. So localized form is basically the physical form that we can connect with the Guru. And universal form is basically a network or a channel through which the Guru is connecting to the Adi Guru, Lord Balaram, or to the Lord directly. So it's a network which is helping us to advance in spiritual life. So when the spiritual master is not present physically, then how does he give instructions? And how can we follow the instruction of spiritual master in his absence? So that function is actually carried out by the Guru Tattva. So Tattva, so it's a principle, it is not the body. And that's why Prabhupada also says in that letter that Guru can also appear in the, he can appear wherever you want. It is not that Guru is limited or restricted to one particular place. Now it is true, both things are true. A Guru is limited because physically he is limited. He cannot expand himself, he is not God. But at the same time, Guru can also make himself available through the form of his Vani, by basically connecting us with the Guru Tattva, by the universal form of the Guru. Okay. So the disciple will never have issues, doubts, confusion anywhere at any point of time. Even after the disappearance of Guru, disciple can still take guidance of the Guru. That's why it is also said that the Guru can never die like an ordinary human being. He is always present in his Vani and eternally is present, right? So this is the most important principle, that Guru is a principle, it is not the body. We have to understand this principle. And ultimate role of a Guru is to connect us to Krishna. Now in Krishna Bhajnamrit, Narari Sarkar has given a lot of etiquettes of how to deal with Guru, and which are the foremost Guru, how we should give special respect to the Siksha and Diksha Guru. That is another topic in itself, so we won't go to the details of that. But one thing we should understand is that amongst so many Gurus, we have to give special respect to our Diksha and Siksha Guru, and we have to obey their instructions. So if their desire is pure, then we should always obey their instructions and we should follow them. Even if more advanced Vaishnava will come and try to guide us, but if that instruction of that advanced Vaishnava will conflict with the instruction of Guru, then we have to give priority to the Guru's instruction, which means Diksha and Siksha Guru. So Jiva Goswami has explained in this Sandarbha, how do we select a Guru? I think that also we discussed that initially. Prabhupada also simplified that, how do we select a Guru? So Prabhupada said that we hear from multiple people, multiple devotees at one point of time, and then finally we filter down. So whoever inspires us the most in spiritual life, then we select that person or devotee as our Diksha Guru. Ideally, we take Diksha from the one who inspires us the most in our Krishna consciousness. And Srila Jiva Goswami, he says that initially we hear from devotees, and those devotees are called as Shravan Guru. And after hearing from those Shravan Gurus, then we select a Siksha Guru. So amongst all of these Shravan Gurus, then finally we filter down some who are most inspiring to us. And from these Siksha Gurus, finally we take Diksha. And so that is called Diksha Guru. Okay. So today we'll be discussing about the way we can, the reasons why we can reject a guru. Because in the scriptures it is mentioned that a guru can also be rejected. And the scripture does not mention anywhere that a guru is supposed to be Uttamadhikari or transcendentally liberated, or he is supposed to be coming from the spiritual world. So the scriptures does not state that by qualification a guru is supposed to be Nitya Siddha or coming from the spiritual world. Okay. There is a letter by Srila Prabhupada, which I don't know if I don't have it here. But in one particular letter, Srila Prabhupada does mention that the guru is supposed to be always liberated. He cannot fall down, basically. So it is true in one sense. So when Prabhupada is saying about that, it basically means that whenever someone is taking the role of a guru, that status, that position itself is actually liberated position. So we may assume the role of guru, but the guru tattva, the tattva is always liberated because it is a manifestation of the Lord's potency. Okay. And guru tattva is also very complicated because multiple living entities take the role of guru, or they assume the role of guru. For example, the Lord directly is a guru, he is the Adi Guru. The devotees of the Lord can also take the role of being a guru. So a Jeev Tattva can become a guru, Shiv Tattva can become a guru. We know that Vaishnavanam Yatha Sambho, Lord Shiva is actually the greatest Vaishnava. So in one sense, Lord Shiva is also considered to be a guru. Then Brahma is also considered to be a guru. Brahma is a living entity, is a Jeev Tattva. We also assume that position. So Jivas, Shiv Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Lord Vishnu is also guru. Krishna is also guru. All of these different tattvas, they are taking the role of guru. That's why it is complex to understand Guru Tattva, because when we talk about the role of guru in terms of Vishnu Tattva, then Vishnu Tattva is all pervasive, right? I mean, then it becomes a principle, because the Lord can expand himself, he is infinite, he is unlimited, and then he can make himself available to everyone. So in the form of Paramatma, he is universally accessible. So that way, Guru Tattva can, so in one sense also we can say that Guru is all-knowing. So when the Lord is taking that role, we can say that Guru is all-knowing. But when a Jiva is taking that role, we cannot say that he is all-knowing. So there are a lot of contrary things when someone is taking the role of Guru. It all depends on which particular entity is taking the role of Guru. So that's how Guru Tattva becomes complicated. So we have to understand one thing, that these different tattvas, they are taking the role of Guru, and they are all basically the role, the function, the common principle of all these tattvas is they all connect us to Krishna. The goal is to connect us to Krishna. That's why Srila Prabhupada stated many times that the key to spiritual advancement is that we should have unflinching faith in the instruction of spiritual master and the Lord simultaneously, or devotion to the Lord and the spiritual master simultaneously. One without the other will not work in this path. One has to go parallel. Okay, one cannot say that I have got a lot of devotion and faith for my guru, but I have not cultivated that for Krishna. That's also incomplete. On the other hand, we can also not say that I have a lot of faith and devotion for Krishna, but no faith and less faith, or less faith in less devotion for Guru. So that is also not complete, because Krishna wants us to approach through his devotees, and he recommends that process many times, right? So the only way to, we know that to understand Krishna, to know Krishna, the only way is to approach the devotee. Without devotion, without approaching a devotee, we cannot actually attain the Lord. So that's how it's a simultaneous process. Devotion for Guru and Krishna simultaneously. Prabhupada has given this many times in his purports as well as in letters. Okay, now we'll be discussing about when should we reject Guru, and I would also like to discuss a few things which is very practical to an institution or organization. So some of the points are, first of all, also emphasizing on the point that the role of Siksha Guru. what is the importance of Siksha Guru, and why we should not minimize that position. Then who can be Siksha Gurus? Because this is a very practical concern for devotees within ISKCON, within an organization. How to select a guru and who can be a Siksha Guru. We have some kind of qualification set aside for the Diksha Guru, right? But when it comes to choosing Siksha Guru, and so who are we supposed to call Siksha Guru? Because there are so many devotees who are guiding us. Then who can be Siksha Gurus? Can we really call them as Siksha Gurus, or just as some mentors or counselors like that? Then what is the role of temple authorities in this entire setup? So we have the Guru, we have Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, we have our own Guru Jan, then we have the temple president, and then probably we are under some authorities also in the temple who are ultimately under the temple president. And then we have the GBC also. So what is the role of all these different positions in ISKCON or organization? And then we can also we'll also discuss something about the parallel lines of authority, which is basically to harmonize and to reconcile all these different concepts that we have in organization. And then Srila Prabhupada is founder Acharya, and then practicalities of selecting Siksha Guru. And then a very important question, whether non-liberated gurus can also liberate their followers. Then Siksha outside ISKCON, and certain questions which are very important for all ISKCON devotees to thoroughly understand, so that they can answer other devotees who are also joining ISKCON. Okay, so and then finally we will also discuss about the traditional protocol and the exceptions to traditional protocol, which is basically what is our traditional protocol? Traditional protocol means that Diksha Guru is the main object of worship for a disciple, and Siksha Guru will basically assist Diksha Gurus. Whereas exception to traditional protocol will reverse the role. So Siksha Guru can take the prominent role in a disciple's life, and Diksha Guru can actually assist the Siksha Guru also. So both of them can actually go parallel to each other. So they have to assist each other. We'll discuss about that. Okay, so now I am not sure if we'll be able to cover all these points in this class. Maybe in the third class we'll complete the Guru Tattva probably. But now we'll go back to the verse number 9 to 9, and I will now give you some information about the story of Prishrada and Vasishtha Muni. So see, Prishrada was actually a Kshatriya, and he had taken a vow to protect cows in a cowshed, and he had taken a vow to stand all the night, the entire night, and to somehow protect cows in the cowshed. So this vow he had taken in front of his Guru, Vasishtha, who is also a family priest, or you can say spiritual master, as Prabhupada calls. And so one day what happened, when Prishrada was protecting and guarding the cowshed, it was raining very heavily one particular night, and it was pitch dark. Nothing could be seen. So somehow a tiger entered the cowshed, and the tiger seized one of the cows from the cowshed. Now Prishrada could hear the cry of the cow, but he could not see anything. So what he did, because he was a Kshatriya, he took up his sword and he immediately, very strongly, he struck. He thought that he's going to strike the tiger, but by mistake he actually struck the cow. So the cow died because of his heavy striking of the sword, and in that process, one of the ears of the tiger got cut. So because of this pain, the tiger immediately fled away, but the cow was killed by Prishrada by mistake. So now when the Guru, next day morning, when Prishrada got to know that it was actually the cow which was killed rather than the tiger, he was very unhappy about it and he was repenting about it. So then Vasishtha Muni got to know about this, and he became very angry and he cursed Prishrada. So he cursed him, and so there in the Bhagavatam second chapter, there is the description of this particular pastime, and it talks about, so from verse number 3 to verse number 14, and I can share the screen also. Yeah, so starting from verse number 3, we'll only go through the translation. We'll not go through the purport and the slokas. Okay, so verse number 3. So Prishrada, following the order of spiritual master, was engaged. I've already discussed this, but let's go ahead. Yeah, so although Prishrada had committed the sin unknowingly, his family priest Vasishta cursed him, saying, "In your next life, you shall not be able to become Kshatriya. Instead, you should take birth as a Sudra because of killing the cows." This purport we have already read, the purport to this verse, 9 to 9. Okay. And the next verse, it is mentioned that when the hero Prishrada was thus cursed by his spiritual master, he accepted the curse with folded hands. Then, having controlled his senses, he took the vow of brahmacharya, which is approved by all the great sages. Text 11 to 13. Thereafter, Prishrada gained relief from all responsibilities, became peaceful in mind, and established control all over his senses. Being unaffected by material conditions, being pleased with whatever was available by the grace of the Lord to maintain body and soul together, and being equal towards everyone, he gave full attention to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, who is transcendental super soul, free from material contamination. Thus, Prishrada, fully satisfied in pure knowledge, always keeping in his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, achieved pure devotional service to the Lord, and began traveling all over the world without affection for material activities, as if he were deaf, dumb, and blind. With 14th, text number 14, with this attitude, Prishrada became a great saint. And when he entered the forest and saw a blazing forest fire, he took this opportunity to burn his body in fire. Thus, he achieved the transcendental spiritual world. So, this is a typical example of how a disciple can also achieve perfection even when he's cursed by the guru. So generally we hear that when a disciple is cursed by a guru, then there is no chance for the disciple to actually advance in spiritual life. But this is just the opposite of that incident. And in fact, there is also one injunction of the scripture which says that even if the Lord is angry with you, the guru can protect you, the guru can save you. But if the guru is angry with you, even the Lord cannot save you. So this is also another scriptural injunction. But here we are seeing in the Bhagavatam, which is the Amal Purana, the topmost authority in all the Vedic scripture. Here we are seeing that the disciple, even though he is cursed by the guru, he is still able to achieve perfection. And the answer to this is in Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse. And he's also quoting Srila Vishwanath Thakur, right? So we have read, Prabhupada says, in the purport, Prabhupada is saying that it appears that Vasishta was not free from tamagun, the mode of ignorance. As a family priest or spiritual master of Prishrada, Vasishta should have taken Prishrada's offense very lightly. But instead of that, Vasishta cursed him to become a Sudra. It is the duty of a family priest not to curse a disciple, but to give him relief through the performance of some sort of atonement. Vasishta, however, did just the opposite. So here we can clearly understand one thing, that as long as the guru is following his dharma, his duty of guiding the disciple back to Godhead, without any ulterior motive, without any selfish desire, without any ego, till that point of time, the guru is as good as Krishna. He is representing Krishna. As soon as the guru deviates from this principle, the guru can also be rejected, or the potency of the guru also becomes nullified. And then he does not have any power to do any harm to the disciple. So first of all, why should a guru why a guru would want that the disciple should suffer, or why would a guru curse a disciple? There has to be a good reason for that. It should ultimately benefit the disciple. But if that curse is because of his own ego, then the guru can also be rejected, or whatever the guru does, that also can be counteracted very easily by the grace of the Lord. So after being cursed by the guru, Prishrada was determined to render devotional service to the Lord. And that's why, as we have already read in the verses, that Prishrada, he gained relief from all responsibilities. He became peaceful in mind. And then he also was able to control his senses. And then, unaffected by any material conditions or contamination, then he was actually, he gave full attention to Supreme Lord. And then he went to the spiritual world. Okay. And he was able to give up his body according to his desire. So now see, he was cursed to become a Sudra, and you could actually counteract that curse. So ideally what is supposed to happen now, see, it is very interesting. Generally in many of the pastimes that we see in the Bhagavatam, even if the guru is not 100% pure devotee, but if he curses someone, then the effect is also there. Like for example, Shukracharya did curse Bali Maharaj, right? The effect was there. He lost everything. Shukracharya was not a pure devotee, and at the same time, because he had done a lot of austerities and tapasya and penances, so he was able to. He had that potency, he had that shakti. He had to, whoever he cursed, he could actually. Um, he had the potency of giving curse, or he could also give blessings to anyone, and that could have effect because of his austerities and penances. So a Brahmana possesses such Shakti. But here we can see that Vasishtha, in spite of having all this Shakti, he was not able to transfer it to Prishada. Why? Because Prishada was a pure devotee and he was determined to attain the Lord in this life. So he was easily able to counteract the curse. So this is a typical example. And another example, now another example is also one step beyond this. So now Vasishtha is cursing one of his disciple, and then the disciple is going to counter curse the guru, and the effect of the curse of the guru disciple comes into effect. Not just the curse of the guru, but the disciple's curse also comes into effect. So we'll see this. So I would like you to refer to Bhagavatam 9 canto's 3rd chapter. Yeah, 3rd chapter. And verse number from 1 to 11. Okay, are you able to see the screen? 1 to 11. Okay, so let's begin with verse number 1. We'll only go through the translations. So Sukadeva Goswami continued, O King Saryati, another son of Manu, was a ruler completely aware of Vedic knowledge. He gave instructions about the functions for the second day of Yagya to be performed by descendants of Angira. One second. I'm not sure. Actually, maybe this is the wrong chapter. 3rd chapter. There is the. Oh, sorry, it's the 13th chapter, not the 3rd one. Yeah. So we'll start with verse number 1. 9th canto, 13th chapter, verse number 1. So Sukadeva Goswami said, after beginning sacrifices, Maharaj Nimi, the son of Ikshvaku, requested the great saint Vasishtha to take the post of chief priest. At that time, Vasishtha replied, my dear Maharaj Nimi, I have already accepted the same post in a sacrifice begun by Lord Indra. I shall return here after finishing the Yagya for Indra. Kindly wait for me until then. Maharaj Nimi remained silent and Vasishtha began to perform the sacrifice for Lord Indra. Maharaj Nimi, being self-realized, considered that this life is flickering. Therefore, instead of waiting long for Vasishtha, he began performing the sacrifice with other priests. After completing the sacrificial performance for King Indra, the spiritual master Vasishtha returned and found that his disciple Maharaj Nimi had disobeyed his instructions. Thus Vasishtha cursed him, saying, may the material body of Nimi, who considers himself learned, immediately fall. For unnecessarily cursing him when he had committed no offense, Maharaj Nimi counter-cursed his spiritual master. For the sake of getting contributions from the King of Heaven, he said, you have lost your religious intelligence. Therefore, I pronounce that this curse, I pronounce this curse, your body also will fall. After saying this, Maharaj Nimi, who was expert in the science of spiritual knowledge, gave up his body. Vasishtha, the great grandfather, gave up his body also. But through the cement discharged by Mitra and Varuna, when they saw Urvashi, he was born again. During the performance of the Yagya, the body relinquished by Maharaj Nimi was preserved in fragrant substances, and at the end of Yaga, the great saints and Brahmanas made the following request to all the demigods assembled there. If you are satisfied with this sacrifice, and if you are actually able to do so, kindly bring Mara Nimi back to life in this body. The demigod said yes to this request by the sages. But Mara Nimi said, please do not imprison me again in this material body. Mara Nimi continued, Mayavadis generally want freedom from accepting a material body because they fear having to give it up again. But devotees whose intelligence is always filled with the service of Lord are unafraid. Indeed, they take advantage of the body to render transcendental service. I do not wish to accept a material body, for such a body is the source of all distress, lamentation, and fear, everywhere in the universe, just as it is for the fish in the water, which lives always in anxiety because of fear of death. The demigod said, let Mara Nimi live without a material body. Let him live in a spiritual body as the personal associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And according to his desire, let him be manifest or unmanifest to common materially embodied people. So thereafter, to save people from danger of unregulated government, the sages churned Mara Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, a son was born. All right. So now we'll also go through one of the purports that Srila Prabhupada has given to one of these verses. And that is verse number 5. Okay. Verse number 5. All right. So translation: for unnecessarily cursing him when he had committed no offense, Mara Nimi counter-cursed his spiritual master for the sake of getting contributions from the King of Heaven. He said, you have lost your religious intelligence. Therefore, I pronounce this curse. Your body also will fall. The religious principle for a Brahmana is that he should not be greedy at all. In this case, however, for the sake of more lucrative remunerations from the King of Heaven, Vasishtha neglected Mara Nimi's request on this planet. And when Nimi performed sacrifices with other priests, Vasishtha unnecessarily cursed him. When one is infected by contaminated activities, his power, material or spiritual, reduces. Although Vasishtha was spiritual master of Mara Nimi, because of his greed, he became fallen. So another very typical example of how, after being cursed by one's disciple, the guru also had fallen down, and disciple did not fall down spiritually, but materially also he had fallen down, because the curse of the guru was also came into effect. And because, as I shared earlier, that the curse of the guru has potency, and it also depends on the devotee whether to counteract the curse or to accept it, as well as also maintain one's spiritual position. So in this case, Maharaj Nimi, he maintained his spiritual position, but he did accept the curse of the guru in terms of material, by letting his body fall off. So then he also cursed his guru by saying that your body will also fall off, because I have not committed any offense, I have not committed any mistake, but you have unnecessarily cursed me because of your own selfish motives. So either Prabhupada says that he had a desire to get remuneration from Indra, and that's why I think he was contaminated by this particular desire. So it was not the fault of Maharaj Nimi. And now we can understand that the most important principle is advancement in Krishna consciousness. If a guru comes in between that, then we don't have to accept the instructions of guru. So Shukracharya was also rejected by Bali Maharaj. Here, in one sense, Prishraddha very humbly accepted the curse of guru, but at the same time he was determined to attain the Lord in this life. And here we can see Maharaj Nimi's example also, how he also counter-cursed the guru. So obviously we cannot imitate these things, but what we are trying to understand is that the guru's main role is to purely represent Krishna consciousness. If he deviates from that, then we no longer have to follow his instructions. Okay, so this is the purpose behind sharing these pastimes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Devotees, they have any questions till now? If they would like to understand in detail, or should we go ahead? Any comments or questions till now? Okay, it seems there are no questions, so we'll go ahead. Okay, so now there are some injunctions from the scriptures when a guru can be rejected. So one is that in the Narad Panchatra it is mentioned he who speaks incorrectly or he who hears what is incorrect goes to hell, goes to fearful hell or for unlimited time. This is stated in the Narad Panchatra. Therefore, one should worship such a guru from a distance. If he, guru, hates Vaishnavas, he should be rejected. For it is said, yeah, I mean, it's the Sanskrit verse. And then the guru who is proud, does not know what to do, what not to do, who has strayed from the correct path, should be given up. This is also quoted in the Mahabharata, 5.178.24. And he should be rejected since he is not a Vaishnava because he does not have a Vaishnava attitude, being the subject of the following verse. Again, a Sanskrit verse is there. And then one goes to hell by accepting a mantra from a non-devotee. One should again take the mantra according to rules from a Vaishnava guru. This is also stated in the Padma Purana. So these are some of the injunctions for rejecting the guru. Now see, it is very interesting that Mahabharata very clearly states when the guru deviates, we are supposed to reject the guru. So Mahabharata says that anyone who is supposed to be a guru but who goes against the principle of Vishnu Bhakti cannot be accepted as guru. And if one has falsely accepted such a guru, one should reject him. Such a guru is described as follows. A person who is wallowing in the carnal pleasures and material comforts, who is confused about the human goal of life and is devoid of bhakti, and who poses as a guru, such a depraved charlatan must be rejected. Yeah, Srila Jiva Goswami has advised that such a useless guru, a family priest acting as guru, should be given up, and that the proper bona fide guru should be accepted. A scholarly Brahmana expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. But if a person born in a family of a lower caste is Vaishnava, he can become a spiritual master. It is enjoined that the corrupt spiritual master who cannot distinguish what should be done, what should not be done, and who has gone astray from the right path must be abandoned. So these are some of the injunctions when a guru is supposed to be rejected. Now, according to the etiquettes given by Krishna, Narari Sarkar in the Krishna Varnamrit, so he also says about when we are supposed to reject a guru. And some of these things we have already discussed, that when a guru deviates from the principle of being a Vaishnava, he also, he may be Vaishnava earlier, but then later on he falls down from his position and he becomes a non-Vaishnava or he becomes a Mayavadi. Then he's supposed to be rejected. And then Narari Sarkar also states that if your guru, let's say if he falls down from his position, but he does not give up his Vaishnava practices. So he is a Vaishnava and he follows his Vaishnava practices, but he has some material contamination. And because of that, he has fallen from his position. So in that case, one should not immediately reject a guru. A disciple should go to the guru. He should confidentially discuss with the guru, and then he should share the Shastric injunctions with the guru. And then he could also discuss with the guru what he's supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do. Because if he has deviated, then the disciple has the right to question the guru and to also discuss with the guru that what he's supposed to do now. So if the guru is willing to rectify himself and is willing to bring himself to the Vaishnava standards of being a guru, then he could again reinstate his position as a guru, Vaishnava guru, and he could also give diksha. But if he refuses and if he does not follow the injunction of the scriptures and behave as a Vaishnava, then he can be rejected later on. But it is important that the disciple should not immediately reject the guru, because the guru is still practicing Vaishnava. He's still following some Vaishnava principles. Okay. So, and then he gives example, he gives comparison of father and a son. If tomorrow if the father falls down, will a son immediately reject the father? No, right? We know that. I mean, a son will always give multiple chances to the father, and only if the father will keep resisting, then only the son can actually, maybe he will reject the father, right? So similarly, one is not supposed to immediately reject the guru, but wait for some time and give the spiritual master some time for rectification. So if he is willing to rectify, then he can reinstate in that position. So this is the intention of Narayana Sarkar by the which is stated in the Krishna Varnamrit. And we also went through some of the intentions quoted by Jiva Goswami from the Padma Puran as well as Mahabharata. Okay, now okay, so now importance of Siksha Gurus. So we have to learn one thing, that all the injunctions which are given in the scriptures, it does not actually apply to the Diksha Guru. This is something we already discussed in the previous class also. Whatever quotes that you have found in the scriptures, they are mainly talking about someone who is providing knowledge. Siksha. Tad vinyardam sagurum eva vigachat. So all these statements from the scriptures, they refer to bestowal of transcendental knowledge. Okay, it does not talk about bestowal of Diksha mantras. So that's why most of the statements, they also are applicable to the Siksha Guru. But our tendency is always to see things in the perspective, in the context of a Diksha Guru. So this is not the right understanding. That's why the role of Siksha Guru is equally important as the Diksha Guru. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that actually both are identical manifestations of the Supreme Lord. So one gives Diksha, which is basically he gives Diksha mantras. Along with that, he also gives Sambandh Gyan. At the same time, the Siksha Guru gives Abhiday Gyan. So the main function of the Diksha Guru is that he provides Diksha mantras for deity worship. At the same time, he can also bestow transcendental knowledge in terms of establishing your relationship with the deity, right? So now, why do we have only one Diksha Guru? We have multiple Siksha Gurus, but we have only one Diksha Guru because the main role of the Diksha Guru is to establish our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And accordingly, he will bestow transcendental mantras to us, Diksha mantras. Okay. So now that actually fixes one Swarupa with the Lord, one's constitutional position in relation with the Lord. For example, if you worship Lord Vishnu, then it is the best that we get connected to a sampradaya which is whose main object of worship, whose primary object of worship is Lord Vishnu, whose goal is Lord Vishnu. So that will enhance our bhakti. Because in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we are emphasizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, which is Krishna in Vrindavan, especially Madhurya Ras, right? So Diksha mantras in Gaudiya Sampradaya will be all these mantras which are connected to Krishna in Vrindavan. Generally, it will be connected to Krishna in Vrindavan. So we have the Gopal mantra, we have the Gayatri mantra. Now, even though we have the Brahma Gayatri, which is a Vedic mantra, Vedic Gayatri, but the thing is, our acharyas have explained all the words of the Brahma Gayatri in context with Radha and Krishna, in context with achieving Radhesham, in context of achieving Gauranga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. Okay, so we have in the second initiation, we get the Guru Gayatri, we have the Gaur Gayatri, and then we have the Gopal mantra, and then we have the Brahma Gayatri. And obviously we have the holy name, which is the Maha mantra. But then Diksha mantras, these are all connected for the Sandhya Vandanam and also for worshipping the deities. So whenever we want to worship deities, then we take Diksha. And that is the role of, that's primarily the role of the Diksha Guru. He is not you can say that the Diksha Guru, we cannot say that the Diksha Guru is also supposed to give Abhiday Gyan. That is conducted by the Siksha Guru. That is done by the Siksha Guru. That's the role of Siksha Guru, to provide Abhiday Gyan. But the Diksha Guru can also give us Abhiday Gyan. In ISKCON, or in generally speaking, Srila Prabhupada represented like that. So he said that you hear from multiple devotees. So they are like Shravan Gurus. And then from those Shravan Gurus, you finally select your Siksha Gurus. And then from Siksha Gurus, finally you accept a Diksha Guru. So in that sense, because the Diksha Guru is also taking the role of Siksha, he also is a Siksha Guru to us, like that. So a Diksha Guru can also take the role of a Siksha Guru, but it is not mandatory. That role is performed by the Siksha Guru. And in that sense, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that because Siksha Guru gives the knowledge, the training which is required to perform a devotional service, they are more important to me than the Diksha Guru, because Diksha Guru is just bestowing transcendental Diksha mantras, whereas the Siksha Guru is bestowing knowledge how to perform bhakti, and he's also training us in spiritual life. So the role of Siksha Guru actually takes prominent, they take more prominent role than the Diksha Guru. In our Sampradaya also we'll see, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, more emphasis is given on the Siksha line, right? I mean, if you consider our own line, Srila Prabhupada and then his Guru Bhakti Siddhanta, they had a Diksha connection also. And then Bhakti Siddhanta had a connection with Gaur Kishore Das Babaji in terms of Diksha. But then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's Guru is to be considered as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which has a Siksha connection. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Guru also, Jagannath Das Babaji, has a Siksha connection. So it's not necessary that the line will have Diksha Gurus. Okay, it will have Siksha Gurus because the prominent role is taken by the Siksha Gurus. Because in our line, the most prominent limb of bhakti is Harinam Sankirtan, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has emphasized. So Harinam is basically a Maha Mantra, and it can also be given by a Siksha Guru. It is not necessary that it has to be given by a Diksha Guru. And I think we have discussed this in a previous class also, that Harinam along with knowledge is bestowed by the Siksha Guru. In the previous times when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, so we saw that many of the acharyas, they have got Siksha and Harinam from some other Guru, and Diksha they have got from some other Guru, right? So there was a difference. But currently what we are following is that Diksha and Siksha, Harinam and Diksha, we are getting from the same Guru. So what does it mean to get Harinam? Now, what is the first initiation? First initiation technically means the Harinam that we are given by in the Sampradaya is empowered by our Diksha Guru. So actually Harinam is already given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to us, but it is being empowered by our Diksha Guru. So we cannot say that the Diksha Guru has given us Harinam in the first initiation. Harinam we have already got it from Srila Prabhupada or from devotees, right? Indirectly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ultimately, because he is the one who actually instructed all of us to chant the holy name, right? So we have already received the Harinam, but what the Diksha Guru does, he just empowers the holy name. Okay, so this we have to understand. What is the difference between Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru, Harinam and Diksha Mantras? And even a Siksha Guru can bestow Harinam to us. Okay. So, can you just give me 1 minute? I wanted to. Hare Krishna. Actually, sorry, some work is going in the house, so there is some disturbance, but I think it will stop now. Okay. Yeah, so now we have understood the significance of Siksha and Diksha Gurus and the importance of Siksha Gurus also. Now, who can be a Siksha Guru? So there are so many devotees. there are so many devotees who are guiding us or from whom we are hearing, but they cannot all be considered to be Siksha Guru. So Siksha Guru is it's not something which is light. It's really very important term. It's not that we can take it for granted. So Diksha and Siksha, they are on equal platform according to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. That's why who is supposed to be a Siksha Guru, or who can we call as a Siksha Guru? So generally the Siksha Guru is the one who is going to guide you for a prolonged period of time, or at least he will have a very important impact on your spiritual life, very significant impact. He may not give you a lot of association, but just by his vani, just by speaking few words or few lines, or maybe by connecting to his books or by his instructions, you may be able to get inspiration for the entire spiritual life. Okay, so these devotees can also be considered a Siksha Guru, who is impacting your spiritual life in a significant way. So generally speaking, those devotees who are guiding you for a longer time, and they also consider themselves responsible for your spiritual lives, those will be ideal Siksha Gurus, and those can be called as Siksha Gurus. Not everyone, because let's say for example you attend Bhakti Shastri course, or you learn deity worship class, or you attend the Bhagavatam class. So you hear from different devotees, but they will guide you, they will inspire you for some point of time, and they will instruct you for certain period of time. After that, they are not necessarily continuing their guidance instructions, and you should also feel inspired to take continued guidance under their association. So if that is not happening, then it's not necessary that they are your Siksha Gurus. They are basically your Shravan Gurus, you can say like that. But then Siksha Guru is the one who is actually having a great impact in your life. So even though you may not have association for a prolonged period of time, maybe some association you might have with the devotee, but their guidance, their instructions will impact you in such a way that will help you throughout your spiritual life. Okay, so it's all a matter of personal inspiration also. You may treat someone as a Siksha Guru if he has impacted your life, and you may consider only Siksha Gurus those who are guiding you regularly in Krishna consciousness. So there are also different ways of guiding disciples. There is the subjective way, and then there is the objective way. So subjective way is according to time-based circumstance. A devotee will generally, the Siksha Guru will do it because the Siksha Guru is able to see your bhakti. He's able to see you as a person. He knows shortcomings, he knows faults, and accordingly he also understands your nature. He also understands your needs. So depending on that, he will also guide you. So that is called guidance in the context of subjective understanding. And then on the absolute platform also one can guide. Like, a Diksha Guru can always speak about Krishna Katha. Now, Krishna Katha is a general form of guidance. It does not need to be applied in time-place circumstances. It is universal. So there are certain tattvas about the Lord, certain leelas about the Lord, which anyone can share. And so these are from the objective platform, right? So these are different ways of dealing with the disciple. So Diksha Guru will deal with a disciple in a different way, and Siksha Guru will deal with a disciple in a different way, because ultimately everyone is a person. So that individual contribution will be there, and that will be unique. Okay, but in essence, the principle remains the same. The role of Diksha and Siksha Guru, both, they should function together as a unit to assist you in your spiritual life, to enhance your spiritual life, like that. Now, any questions till now, or are you going to ask at the end? Because so many topics will be covering, and I'm not sure if so you want to do it now, take some questions now, or later on at the end.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danu Pranam. All glories to you. Good, very nice class, Prabhuji. So very interesting and knowledgeable topic. So Prabhuji, like as you mentioned, like Harinam Diksha is basically already given by, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So
Harinam, Harinam.
right, and then in ISKCON we generally get it from the Guru, and then some formalities are there. So when a person can think that he's ready for a the real Diksha, basically the Brahman Diksha, is it something he has to ask for it from the temple, or is it something that is on need basis, or this is something somebody must have? So I mean that's the thing I want to understand.
Yeah, okay. So see, there is Srila Prabhupada standard. What he did in the beginning days of ISKCON, he set a very liberal standard because obviously he wanted to create disciples and he wanted to encourage disciples also, because there were no disciples at all in the beginning. So he wanted to encourage his disciples to advance and to spread Krishna consciousness. And in order to spread Krishna consciousness, we require a lot of temples. Not just in India, but Prabhupada also established temples and deity worship in the West. So now when deities are there in the West, obviously we must have Brahmanas to perform deity worship, because deity worship cannot be performed by someone who is less qualified than a Brahmana. So then Prabhupada was very liberal to give second initiation. So generally after a year or so, or 2 years or so, Prabhupada gave second initiation, right? And later on, after ISKCON started growing, after some years, like Prabhupada started ISKCON in 1966, and then by the end of 1977, Prabhupada also had he also kind of enhanced the standard. So he was a bit cautious about giving second initiation so easily. So earlier he was liberal, but then later he became a bit cautious about it. So he was not giving second initiation very quickly. Maybe he was asking them to wait for some more period of time. Okay. With growing trend in ISKCON, and because ISKCON is spreading in the world now, we see that the standard of deity worship and the standard of second initiation is not to be taken for granted. So there are many gurus who are now making their disciples wait for so many years. So it is ultimately the guru who is going to decide who is qualified or whom to give second initiation or not. We may follow whatever the qualification is. We may follow some standards and rules, regulations, which is required for Brahmana, for deity worship. But ultimately, it is all dependent on the guru. Now, there are some gurus, like for example, what I've heard is that His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, especially in Chopati, in Mumbai, or maybe in India, I'm not sure about in India, but especially in Chopati, he has given a very clear instruction that he will give second initiation as a priority only to those who are going to perform deity worship in the temple, or there is a need for deity worship or for devotees who are going to perform that service in the temple. So those whose main service is not deity worship, for them it's going to be a long period of time. They'll have to wait longer, and so hopefully Maharaj will give at certain point of time, but it is solely on the decision of the guru when to give and to which disciple he can give. So it is all dependent on the guru. So yeah, so this is about second initiation. We have certain qualifications mentioned in the scriptures. So we must be Brahmana for performing deity worship, and for being a Brahmana, we require, to worship the Lord, we must have Diksha mantras. So Diksha mantra can only be chanted by a Brahmana. So that's why we have to take care of these qualifications. Like we have to fulfill those requirements, and then only we will be recommended. And then it all finally depends on the guru, whether he wants to give or not. So does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, principally we understand that you don't require Diksha mantras for going back to Godhead. Just by chanting holy name and by attaining knowledge, we'll be able to go back to Godhead. So only those devotees who have inclination for deity worship I think it is obviously the best for them to get second initiated. Although in one sense, technically speaking, second initiation is a real initiation. There is no first initiation described in the scripture. This is something that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had divided. The initiation process is divided into two parts, first and second. And later on, Prabhupada also followed that. Because Prabhupada could understand that there are a lot of Malichas and Yavanas, especially in this current age, and we cannot give them directly Brahman initiation because they are not qualified. So let them chant sufficiently for a certain period of time, so they'll get purified by the process and follow the regulative principles, and then you come to a Brahmana platform. So that's how, in order to encourage the devotees and to make them committed in spiritual life, the first initiation concept has been introduced. Otherwise, this first initiation is not there. As I said earlier, that anyone could give Harinam. So any devotee in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he could bestow Harinam to any other devotee like that. And this is how they received Harinam. And anyone could, obviously, Siksha is an ongoing process. We know that any devotee, he can give you Siksha, he can guide you, and there is no qualification for that. And any devotee can also share Harinam. We also see that we perform street Sankirtan. So everyone is going to receive Harinam through that. Right? So this is the difference.
And also I have seen, Prabhu, like there are many devotees I've seen, like they do chanting like 16 rounds every day. They follow all these 4 principles also, but still they are not like, getting initiated. Like they are waiting for something, or they are not like, too much into getting initiation formally. So is it something I know like everybody should get initiated, and is it something their personal choice, like not to get initiated?
So see, basically the idea is that disciples should be personally inspired to get initiation. Okay. Now, it's also intention of the scripture that without initiation, one has to accept initiation. Without that, one cannot attain the Lord. So that is also described in the scripture. But then now there are different ways to see this. There are different contexts. If a disciple thinks that now I am without initiation, I am all sufficient to go back to Godhead without initiation, and I don't have to take Diksha, formal Diksha, then that's definitely an offense to the holy name in one sense. That attitude is not the right one. So that will not take the disciple back to Godhead. Right? So see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that you can chant the holy name millions of times for millions of lives. Right? Why millions of lives? Because if you commit offenses to the holy name, then even if you are chanting 128, 192, it does not matter. You will have to take millions of lifetimes, and you will still struggle in your chanting of the holy name. You will not be able to attain perfection. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, but without offenses, if a devotee will chant one syllable also of the holy name, just one time, then one can easily attain the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So it all depends on the attitude of the devotee. If the devotee thinks that I don't need a guru, that itself offensive mentality. So you'll not be able to go back to Godhead just by the holy name. So when it is said that just by chanting the holy name, the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to take one back to Godhead, it means that it is assumed that the disciple has the right consciousness and the attitude also, and he is willing to accept Diksha or a guru. Now, in his heart, he has accepted someone as a guru, but if a guru physically leaves the world, and for some reason, if the disciple leaves the world, but because he had this attitude of taking shelter, or he probably has already taken shelter of a guru in terms of Siksha, it's just a matter of formality that in the future he will take formal Diksha. And then in that process, in between, he leaves the body. But if he's following the instructions of the guru very sincerely, then that disciple can also go back to Godhead just by the potency of the holy name and by pure chanting of the holy name, which means that if he's not committing aparadh, then definitely he can go back to Godhead. Okay, so now if you are asking about second initiation, then second initiation, as I already shared, that is not up to the disciple or up to the devotee. If the guru wants the disciple to take second initiation, then yeah, he should take. But if the guru is not so eager to give second initiation to the disciple, and the disciple also does not want to perform deity worship as his primary service or prominent service, then it is not necessary to take second initiation. Chanting the holy name purely is the most important process. We should focus on that. And for that, right consciousness and the right service attribute is actually most important. So if we follow the instructions of Guru, we'll go back to Godhead without second initiation also.
Thank you, Guruji.
Yeah, any other questions or comments? Okay. So we can continue. Yeah, so now talking about the temple authorities, the parallel lines of authority. Now, what is the role of all these devotees in our spiritual lives? How are we supposed to deal with them? Are they our authorities? Are they our spiritual authorities also? So see, Srila Prabhupada is the founder of ISKCON, and he is the preeminent Siksha Guru of ISKCON, which means that he is the final ultimate authority in ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Now, Prabhupada wanted us to cooperate with all the devotees in ISKCON. Prabhupada's, I think every devotee must be familiar with this, that Prabhupada said at the end of his passing away that your love for me will be shown by how you all cooperate with each other. So Prabhupada expected that all ISKCON devotees, they will cooperate with each other. And that's how the movement will go ahead. And that's why he also wanted that the ultimate managing authority to be the GBC. He did not assign a particular person as the Acharya after his disappearance. Okay. So Prabhupada expected that the GBC is going to be the ultimate managing authority. And so that means all the devotees, they are supposed to follow the GBC. Even though they may not be the spiritual authorities, they may not be the absolute guru in one sense, but these are all very important things. These are all connected to each other. So in the temple, the ultimate authority is the GBC. Under the GBC, we have the temple president, and then temple president, under the temple president, we have the temple leaders. And then under the temple leaders, there may be some congregation devotees, counselors, mentors. Under them, there are many other devotees also. So it's a proper system of connecting a devotee to fulfill their needs. See, the ultimate idea and the goal is that this system is created so that a disciple can flourish in their bhakti. It should not create confusion and problems, right? So the ideal way is that, why do we have this parallel lines of authority? What does it mean? Parallel line means the authority of the guru, which means, now guru, when I say guru, it also includes Siksha Guru. So Diksha, Siksha Guru, the authority of the guru and the authority of the temple president or the temple leaders or the temple or the GBC, it should go parallel. So basically it means they should all cooperate with each other so that the disciples can actually flourish under their guidance, right? Now, it is also possible. The greatest challenge in this is that there are the temple leaders, they may not be liberated. They will also have anarthas. They are also facing anarthas. They may be seniors to us, but we can clearly understand that they are not pure devotees. Pure devotee in the sense that pure devotee has different definitions. One pure devotee definition is that someone at the state of bhava and prema. That's completely free from ego, ahankara, and all that. That's the state of pure devotion who has realized Krishna. But then below that, there are devotees at the state of asakti, ruchi, nishtha. But some anarthas are there, right? So we have to, and then below that also, we have devotees at the state of anartha nivritti. Anarthas are not yet purified. See, and one thing we have also, I think, seen in ISKCON as an organization, because organization unites people from all over the world. So there are so many people from different mentalities, different cultures, backgrounds, and sometimes there is a mixing of cultures and backgrounds. So in spite of following some, proper spiritual authority or some knowledge from the scripture, what happens is devotees will tend to reflect, or they will guide from their own nature or culture or ethnic background. So that might interfere with the pure spiritual knowledge that which we are getting from Guru Sadhu Shastra. Okay, so these things are a big challenge because we have a big organization. But the principle is that if we can cooperate, okay, Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru, temple president, temple leaders, GBC, if they all can cooperate, if they can reconcile things, if they can come together and find a solution for the benefit of the disciple, then things can move forward very nicely. Okay, so the Guru generally does not interfere in the management. The temple president is actually the final authority in terms of deciding how the temple is supposed to function. Okay, and then the GBC is only coming to picture when the temple president will start deviating from the ISKCON principles or practices, or if they sense that this particular temple president is deviating from Srila Prabhupada's instructions or standards, then only the GBC will come into effect. Otherwise, normally the GBC will not interfere in the decisions of the temple presidents. Okay, so the temple president is actually the authority of the temple. And sometimes it is also possible that there may be a number of devotees instead of just one devotee who is actually taking the role of temple president. Right? So again, it's a cooperation between all the devotees, different devotees. And then finally, whatever the authority decides, we are supposed to accept it. We are supposed to follow that. Now, these authorities, they are not supposed to control your spiritual life. Okay, they are supposed to inspire your spiritual life. So we cannot, just because someone has become a temple president or a leader does not mean they start controlling others or they start dominating others. The leader is the one. So that's why we have instructions for the leaders also, and then we have instructions for the devotees also, who are supposed to follow the leaders. So leaders also, they are supposed to purify themselves. They are supposed to become advanced in spiritual life so that they can properly communicate to the devotees. They can deal with them nicely, gently, and at the same time, they can represent Krishna as purely as possible. So what we need to understand is that we are going to deal with certain non-liberated devotees in our movement. It's not possible that in fact, your Siksha Gurus also, they may be taking a prominent role in terms of guiding you, but it is not necessary the Siksha Gurus can also be free from anarthas. And same can be spoken about the Diksha Guru also. So we have to acknowledge certain things, and we cannot, although the Guru is absolute for us, but we have to acknowledge certain things that are there. Okay, just like in the examples that we have gone through from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prishrada and Maragnimi, they also understood the faults of their Guru, and they continued their sadhana and service to the Lord. Right? So please do not assume that your Guru is coming from the spiritual world, is a Nitya Siddha, because later on if the Guru deviates or falls down, then you will not be able to handle it. So it may be possible, it may be true that a Guru may be very exalted, but let's also be practical and realistic in our dealings, in our observations with Guru. Right? And then we have a history in ISKCON also, where we have seen that many sannyasis, they have fallen down over a period of time. So initially they were worshipped as good as Srila Prabhupada's position, but then later on, it was very clear that they were not even the stage of Nishtha, probably. Right? So this is very important to understand. That's why we have a culture of gurus where you can take guidance and support of so many other devotees. If your Siksha Guru or your Diksha Guru will deviate, right? Then you have other devotees who can guide you, guide you on the path. And one thing we have to also realize that it is not, we should not place the ball in the Guru's court. Finally, everything depends on the disciple. How much instructions they are following, because see, in one sense, everyone is going to represent Srila Prabhupada in ISKCON. Okay, whether it may be the Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, they are all going to present Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has already given so many instructions. Is there a need for more instruction? No. I mean, everything Prabhupada gave, in whichever whichever service you are inclined to, you can perform that service. And there are so many instructions in that particular service also. So Prabhupada has given everything to us. So even if tomorrow the Diksha and Siksha Guru will deviate, they'll fall down, we can always connect with Srila Prabhupada strongly. That's why Prabhupada is considered to be the preeminent Siksha Guru of all the ISKCON devotees. He's the founder Acharya. So if we are connected to Srila Prabhupada, then if we become matured in our understanding, then we'll also realize that, okay, our Guru may be very advanced, but still I may give some benefit of doubt that tomorrow he may deviate, tomorrow he may be affected by some material contamination. Okay, that benefit of doubt we should always have, unless and until we are really sure that the Guru has come from the spiritual world. Only when one has attained Prema, then only one will not fall down. But even at the stage of Bhav, as we know, Bharat Maharaj was at the stage of Bhav, but he had fallen down from that platform also. So what to speak of devotees who are taking the role of Guru, who are at a lower stages than that of Bhav. They can be at the state of Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, like that. So there is a lot of possibility. Jiva Goswami says that if a devotee has committed aparadh, a major aparadh in a previous life, then the effects of the aparadh will actually influence that devotee, and the devotee can fall down from the state of Bhav also. So there is a possibility that even after attaining the state of Bhav, one can still fall down, right? What to speak of at lower stages. So we always give benefit of doubt. Now, there are different considerations for the definition of liberation, different definitions we can give, what it means that a devotee is liberated or not liberated. And the most practical definition of being liberated is that at least a devotee is not affected by the modes of passion and ignorance. So major anarthas have been removed, and he is not disturbed by modes of passion and ignorance. He is at least in the state of goodness. So that is the state of Nishtha, right? So Prabhupada said that 75% of the anarthas have been destroyed, and it's a 50% stage in the 9 stages of advancement, right, from Shraddha to Prema. So it's in the middle, and by sufficient anartha nivritti, one comes to the state of Nishtha. So that Nishtha stage is that in which the devotee, although he may not be completely liberated, but because of his intelligence, because of knowledge, because of sincerely practicing the instructions of Guru, even though he may, in his mind, he may deviate, but by proper focus, by using intelligence, he will abstain from things which will cause the fall down. Okay, so that is the minimum stage of liberation you can consider at the state of Nishtha. It's a very practical stage. So the devotees who are liberated, we can say that they are at the state of Nishtha, and all the way up to Prema. So in between all these devotees, they are liberated. And the liberation intensity is also more and more as we advance further. So you can say that someone at the state of Bhava and Prema, there is rarely any chance of falling down, unless someone has committed very strong aparadh in the previous life or this life. Then only they can fall down. Otherwise, there is hardly any chance of falling down from the state of Bhava and Prema, right? So below that, there is a possibility, but to the degree we are more advanced, to that degree, there is less chance of falling down. So the more we are advanced, the more it is beneficial. And that's why Srila Prabhupada also writes in, I think, Nectar of Instruction, that a disciple should select a Uttamadhikari as his Guru. Because if he selects a Madhyama or a Kanishta, then he cannot advance under his insufficient guidance. So that's why finally he has to take guidance from Uttamadhikari to advance. Now, there are certain claims from outside of ISKCON that ISKCON, the teachings, the gurus in ISKCON, they are not, because they are not Uttamadhikari, so they are not giving Uttama guidance. So whatever ISKCON is, whatever devotees are following in ISKCON, it is not Uttama. And there are no Uttamadhikaris in ISKCON. So how to handle this? How to tackle this? So one thing is very clear, that first of all, Uttama instructions definitely we are getting, because Srila Prabhupada gave us everything. He has given Sambandha Abhidya Prayojan. Prayojan means that which is required for us to attain the Supreme Lord. That Prabhupada has already given. And because everyone is representing Srila Prabhupada, so in that sense, we can say that we are finally getting Uttama instructions only. We may not get the association of Uttamadhikaris physically, but how does it matter? Because ultimately Prabhupada gave more emphasis on the Vani. And this is a principle. I mean, if you want to associate with the Uttamadhikari, what does it mean to associate with the Uttamadhikari? It means to follow the instructions of the Uttamadhikari. If you don't follow instructions of Uttamadhikari, no matter how much association you get of the Uttamadhikari, you will still fall down. And we have already seen in the case of Srila Prabhupada also. So we have already seen this in Srila Prabhupada's case, that many of his disciples, they got intimate association of Prabhupada. But later on, they could not continue their practices after Prabhupada's disappearance. So that's why Prabhupada emphasized the most important principles of Krishna consciousness, which is chanting the holy names, follow the regulatory principles. If you are following the instructions of Prabhupada, then you will be protected. Prabhupada writes in one letter also to one disciple that if you are chanting the holy names, 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then there is no power in the universe that can actually make you fall down. Srila Prabhupada writes this, very interesting. He does not even talk about, I think, the regulative principles, I guess. But he says that if you are chanting 16 rounds every day, then there is no power in the universe that can make you fall down. Now, I think it also should be understood in the proper context, because for what does it mean to fall down? I mean, we can fall down from our, in our minds, we are always falling down practically every day, because our mind is filled with a lot of contamination. So we may be falling down also, but I think what it means is externally, we are not going to fall down. Like, we will be protected by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, so this is what Prabhupada expected from us, that we have a parallel line of authority. We have the GVC, and then we have this entire system, the hierarchy we have in the temple, and then we are supposed to cooperate with the devotees. So, see, the Guru will not, although the Guru is absolute for the disciple, but the Guru also will want to cooperate with the GVC. Even though the Guru may not agree with what the GVC is saying, but once the majority of the GVC is executed, then the Guru will also accept it as the authority, and he will. So even though the Guru may disagree with certain things, but because it was Prabhupada's desire that we should finally defer to the authority of the GVC, so he will also instruct his disciples accordingly. Okay, so this is it's a approach where everything has to be cooperated and adjusted properly. It's not that we are trying to create localized ISKCONs everywhere, and you and your Guru, the disciple and the Guru, that's it. Nothing beyond that, nothing outside of that. That kind of mentality will actually create factions in ISKCON. So that's why, in order to have a unified approach, in order to please Srila Prabhupada, we must also cooperate with each other. So this is the main aspect of, or the main function of parallel lines of authority. So everything has to be harmonized properly. Yeah. So now coming to the question of whether liberated, non-liberated gurus can also liberate. So as I shared, that generally now see, it's a very logical thing. ISKCON is a preaching mission, right? The 4 laws of ISKCON, we know that purity is the force, books are the basis, preaching is the essence, and unity is the principle. So preaching is going to be the essence of ISKCON. Prabhupada desperately wanted that we preach. Every one of us should preach in ISKCON. So now, in order to preach, so what is the effect of result of preaching? Basically, to create more devotees. When we create more devotees, we also would require so many gurus. That's why Prabhupada said that I want that all of you should become acharyas, and you should become gurus, and you should guide devotees so that they can advance in spiritual life. So in order for so many of them to become gurus, we have to lower the standard of the qualification of being a guru. So please understand this. We cannot say that a guru is someone who is only at the stage of bhava and prema. Then who is going to be the guru in ISKCON, right? Now, we don't know who is at bhava and prema. We have many exalted advanced Vaishnavas in our ISKCON movement. But can we say for sure that, okay, this particular guru is at the state of bhava? They are not going to reveal to us, even if they are at that particular stage, right? So we are not sure whether someone is at bhava and prema. And even if someone is at bhava and prema, how many of them are at that stage? maybe out of 100%, maybe 0.1% or 0.001%, then how can we really spread Krishna consciousness? How can we take the role of Guru? So in order to achieve this result practically, we have to come to a lower standard of accepting that, okay, a Guru can, and it is also sanctioned by the scriptures. It is not that the scriptures say that only a pure devotee, only someone coming from spiritual world or Nitya Siddha can be a Guru. That is not stated anywhere in the scripture. In fact, the scriptures talking about deviation of Guru, which means that there is always a possibility that Guru can deviate. So anyone, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly states that anyone who knows the science of Krishna can become Gurus. And Prabhupada also has set some standard. Like, it's not that anyone who knows the science of Krishna can become a Guru. No, they should also follow that science, which means that regulative principles they have to follow, and they have to at least stand 16 rounds at least in our ISKCON. This is the minimum qualification for being a Guru, right? To guide others. So you have to lower the standard of being a Guru, and that can happen at the stage of Nishtha. So Nishtha is the minimum level where one is supposed to act as a Guru. Okay, now that's that is one definition of being a liberated Guru. But then there are devotees who are not even at the stage of Nishtha. They are at Anartha Nivriti, and they are also helping others. See, every devotee in ISKCON, because they are receiving knowledge from their superiors, and because the movement is to create devotees, so every devotee can actually give guidance and knowledge to others. So in that sense, they are also taking role of a Guru to some extent. Although it may not be a complete sense, but to some extent they are taking the role of Guru. So that way we can. So there'll be some devotees who are non-liberated, below the stage of Nishtha. Okay, and if they represent those liberated devotees as it is representing Guru Sadhu Shastra, then through their guidance also one can advance, and one can also be liberated, or one can also attain the Lord by following the system, in which if we are purely presenting the teachings of Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we can definitely attain the Supreme Lord by the help of that devotee. So the devotee may be non-liberated, but if he is purely representing, he is repeating the words of Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we can also advance. And at the same time, the devotee who is guiding us is also advancing, right? If he's sincere, he will also advance. So all of us are advancing. So some are at, some have like joined graduate college, and some of them are in school, some of them are in undergraduate college, like that. But we are all going ahead. Some of them are PhDs, like that. So this is the principle, how non-liberated Gurus can also act as via medium, and they can transmit the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as long as they are following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. And then, so Siksha outside ISKCON. So this is a little bit, I think it will take some time to very thoroughly understand whether we should take Siksha from outside ISKCON or not. So I think we can continue the next class. But till now, if devotees they have any further questions or comments, we can share.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very nice class. Thank you so much for giving us so much of knowledge, and really thankful to you. Prabhuji, I want to ask you one question. Like, there is sometimes, I'm just pointing Bhakti Charu Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was, I'm sorry, I was outside, so there's a noise coming of the helicopter. He set up a temple it's called Veda Foundation, in which he has got a little bit, some cows are there. But what happens is in that century, there is, all the, all his disciples are only managing it, So in the sense that when somebody from outside comes, we have a feeling that, all Bhakti Charu Maharaj disciples are only, although they're asking, they're not saying that don't come, or they're asking us to come, but the whole management, everything is done by Bhakti Charu Maharaj disciple only, exclusively. So because he bought this land, did this. But then what happens on the other side, I see the Alachua temple is there, our Orlando temple. So there it is not like that. There, there is all mixed up. And even when we do DT Seva offering and all that, no, there's so many Guru Maharaj pictures are there. And it's kind of universally based where so many. So is this I mean, I don't mean to say anything about any spiritual master in ISKCON, because Bhakti Charan Maharaj is a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. But is this okay, or or should it happen or not happen? Or there's some, like for me, it is like, why couldn't a couple of Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada disciples together could do this? Why only Bhakti Charu Maharaj? And also why his disciples are only, running the show? So what happens then is that everybody kind of backs out, thinking that, oh, they are managing, they are Bhakti Charu, it's the particular Maharaj's project. So you have something to share on that?
Yeah, so this is a very practical question. And what I say is that this is not just the case in ISKCON of Delhi. I think it's everywhere in India, outside India also. Because like for example, in South India, we'll see that there are so many disciples of Jayapataka Maharaj. And then if you consider Mumbai, there are so many disciples of Radhanath Maharaj. In North India, you'll see Gopal Krishna Maharaj disciples are there. So that this is going to be there. But one thing, what we can see, irrespective of whose disciples are managing the temple, I think it is very important to be accommodative and to be, because see, what happens is there are different flavors of devotees, and everyone is individual. So we cannot expect that the other devotees, they will have the same kind of mentality or same mood, same sentiment for worshipping the Lord. They will be having different moods. So I think it is very important to acknowledge and appreciate that. Although the mood of a particular guru will be prominent in that zone, because maximum devotees, they will be disciples of that particular guru. But whenever some devotee from outside will come, they should definitely be, they should feel that they are coming ultimately to their home only. So that kind of environment has to be there. So the devotees, they should not judge, they should not criticize, or they should not unnecessarily impose their views on other devotees of other disciples of other gurus. So in that sense, they should be very open-minded to accept. And another thing that should not happen is guru preaching. Guru preaching should not happen, and one should not be forced to accept diksha from that particular guru just because he is in that particular zone. Now, practically, it may work out also well. Like you may be inspired by some other guru, but practically, because you will be in that place for a longer period of time, it may happen that to take diksha from that guru might work out well practically, with few challenges and with few problems and issues. But again, now it cannot be something which should be forced or imposed to any particular devotee. I think a devotee should be provided knowledge, and a devotee should themselves, they should think about it, and they should come up with certain decision. But it cannot be forced, because every guru in ISKCON, they are playing a very important role. They are contributing wonderfully in Prabhupada's movement, and they have their own taste and flavor. But the general mood of all the devotees or of a particular guru in ISKCON should be that they should be broad-minded, open-minded, they should be accommodative, and they should also deal with all the devotees with the mood of Prema Rāsa Dāsa, servant of servant. Because this is a common principle for any devotee, irrespective of whichever mood they are carrying, whatever background, culture, whatever they are carrying. Prema Rāsa Dāsa has to be the foundation of all the devotees. Then we can prosper. So once we appreciate others, acknowledge others, appreciate their services, then automatically they'll be inspired to connect with us. But if there is one, major disciples belonging to a particular guru, if they only impose their guru's views on others, then that is not the right way. I don't think that's the right way. Although I see, I don't have any problem associating with disciples of one particular guru only, as long as they are not so narrow-minded in their approach, as long as they do not judge devotees. So judgment, criticism, and being narrow-minded, that creates a problem. But if they are open-minded, they are welcoming, and they are not imposing others, then I think it is a very good. So see, on one end, there are a lot of advantages of being in a dominant guru culture, in a particular dominant guru culture, and at the same time, there are also advantages of being in a unified culture, where there are disciples from different gurus. They're coming to one place and they are serving the Lord. So it's a very exemplary model also, because they have learned to cooperate with each other, and they are appreciative. So with time, they will learn all these qualities. But those who are only from one guru, and majority of the disciples from one guru, then maybe they'll probably have to learn this art of cooperation and art of adjusting with other disciples. Whereas the advantages of being in one particular, under the roof of one particular guru, is that the same mood is pervading everywhere. Because we also see that association with similar-minded devotees is very important for all devotees. So in that sense, association with similar-minded devotees is quite natural in that group. And at least certain principles are common for every disciple, because the guru is emphasizing to all the disciples a particular principle. So they all have these common values and principles. And that will be very satisfying when we associate with them. Whereas some other guru may emphasize on different aspects. So that may conflict sometimes, or it may, but then we have to be flexible, we have to be open-minded, and we have to be appreciative. That is what I can suggest. Does it make sense, Madhavi?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. And actually, I wanted to mention one thing, that the devotees, Bhakti Charu Maharaj devotees who are here, they are so welcoming, they're so wonderful. And we always read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So, what you mentioned now, like they should not do this, they should not do this, completely they're following that. But it's just that my mind was inquisitive to know that why, there are not other in the management and things like that. But then you said this is happening everywhere. So it's good, because as long as we're spreading the holy.
It happens everywhere, Mataji, and it happens, sometimes it also happens naturally. I mean, it's not that like there is some intention of creating only the disciples of one particular guru at some place. It just manifests naturally, because the guru is visiting that place frequently, and other gurus are not visiting that place. So although we don't have a zonal acharya system, but all these gurus in ISKCON, they have divided their zones. So one guru will not go, and he will not, so different gurus, they have different zones. They have divided like that. So it is natural for a devotee to take diksha from a guru who is most frequently visiting the place, because the devotees also want to connect to the guru personally, physically. So they will probably take up diksha from that guru, because they are getting physical, personal association of that guru. So it becomes naturally manifested. And if it is happening by intention, then that is not the right way. It should not happen like that. And another thing is that, see, there are also certain things which are because of the influence of Kali Yuga. Prabhupada also said that there will be a lot of problems, not outside of ISKCON, but within ISKCON, because the influence of Kali Yuga is always there. So within ISKCON means it can also happen because of devotee relationships. It can also happen because of friction between devotees, a lot of problems between devotees, amongst devotees. So that can actually destroy our movement from within. So it is very important to have Trinarapi Sunijana as the principle and to be open-minded, be accommodative. So, yeah, I mean, but still it is a challenge, like we have some very liberal gurus, and then we have some very conservative gurus. So it is, I don't think it will be possible that they will somehow become, they will become very close to each other, because there are a lot of differences also. So then devotees also keep distance from each other. And especially when they see that they are being judged, that is the cause of their keeping distance from each other. So judgment should not be there. So so somehow I think this quality of being appreciative, that is very important, that we have to cultivate. And especially when we don't know a devotee, we are not supposed to judge them. When we know a devotee properly, then only we can judge, because what the devotee is doing, we do not know. We may see externally, we may see certain things, but internally, what they are doing, what all services they have rendered, we don't know that. So it's very important to be careful about criticism. Otherwise, we get in the loop of aparadha. So we should avoid it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for answering. It was really helpful. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, so I hope that devotees have got a good understanding about the Guru Tattva and the difference between Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, the process of transmitting knowledge and all that. And yeah, maybe in the next class we'll finish off where we left off. So I hope I was able to serve the devotees in some way. So thank you so much, devotees, for joining. Hare Krishna, to all the devotees. So I am about to stop the recording now.